Hi, I'm Andrew from Creative Guitar Studio. It's Friday, May 14th, 2010, and I'm going to go through some emails that have come into the studio this week, and I'm going to start with one from Kyle from Royal Oak, Michigan. Kyle wrote in, he said, how can I use the concept of melodic triad substitution in my improvising? I'd like to assume this has something to do with chord families and substitution, which I've been brushing up on. Any knowledge on the practical application of this concept would be much appreciated. So basically, the idea is that you can substitute out in a diatonic sense, that's using anything from the key you happen to be working within. You can basically substitute out anything you want, but you have to kind of make sure that it's focused in to the chord of the moment. Now, let me give you an example of this. I'm going to give it an E major, just fourth position E major here. And what I'd like to get you to think about, first of all, is something simple, just relative major and minor. Now, this is obviously the major, E major. The relative minor against that is C sharp minor. Now, what you can do is play C sharp minor, either the triad or the minor seventh quality arpeggio, over top of that E major chord. The only thing is you probably don't want to start on the C sharp, unless maybe the E major chord is happening to be a major 6. That might, warrant it. But otherwise, maybe start on something that's diatonic to the chord, that's congruent to the chord, pardon me. So something like maybe the B would be nice. You could come off B. And I ended on a G sharp, which is a nice note because the E major chord actually has a G sharp in it. So those, the relative major minor principle is something quite nice to work with. But another thing that you could look at is going off the third of the chord, going off the fifth of the chord. You have to understand these, the chord tones are all related. So if you go off the third, you're going to play a minor type of arpeggio inside the key. If you go off the fifth, you're going to play some type of major. So let's go and take the third, just to do an example of that real quick. So in a G major, in a E major chord, it's a G sharp note as a third degree of that chord. So what we could do is play maybe a G sharp, because remember it has to be minor. So you play a G sharp minor triad. You could even play a G sharp minor seventh, that'd be quite nice. And that'll hook in. But the thing is you have to phrase it, and you have to work on how to get into the quality of the chord that's of the moment. Now, if you play a seventh quality G sharp minor seventh, that is, what you wind up getting against the E major is you add in an F sharp tone. It's a seventh note. So what happens is it's kind of giving you a sound a little bit like an E major add 2. Which is quite an interesting sound. You can even end on the note. Now, you can try it and see if it phrases correctly for the song you're working within. But remember, lots of factors tie in to this, including rhythm. So don't forget that one. But anyway, that's how that principle works. I'm just going to quickly move on to the next question. I chose a question next that's actually quite closely related to this. The next question coming up here is from Anthony. He writes in, he says, in reggae, I wanted to know what the relationship is between the bass and the chords played by the keyboard or the guitar. He says, the reason I ask is because I was playing along with the Bob Marley tune Heathen, and I read a tab somewhere that put the chord changes as E minor, C, and G, which sounds right, but then I heard the song Shabba Ranks Heart of a Lion, and it didn't sound right, so I swapped the G with a B minor, and that sounded right. And his question here is, however, how can the same bass line have different chords to accompany them? So the idea really is all these chords, the G major and the B minor, are actually related. Now, let me give you an idea of this. Because chords are constructed in third intervals, so if we took a G chord and you went out a third, you get to a B. If you went a third from the B, you get to a D. In the key, if you went a third from there, you get to an F sharp. And basically what happens is you're stacking in thirds. So if I started on G, I get the B note and the D note coming up. But hey, if I start on B, guess what the next note is? It's D. And then if you go from there, because remember I started initially off G and I went G, B, D, F sharp. If I start on B, my root third and fifth come from B, go to D, and then I hit an F sharp as a fifth away from B. Starting to see the correlation here. It's all interrelated. So that's why they actually function against one another. It's basically the same type of chord construction, but you're coming off different notes. And if I were to start off of the D and begin a chord construction off that, I would go from D to F sharp as a major third, so the D is giving me a major quality. The next note coming up, however, would be an A. If I go all the way back to where I initially started from, which was that root of G, I would get some type of a G major add 9 sound. If I add A into a G type of major chord, add 2, if you want to call it add 2, for the G, then, you'd be looking at triad, of course, because add 2 is related to the triad. The major 9 would obviously be related to the 7th quality chord. But you see the connection. It's all interrelated, and that's why they work. Now, I got to make a confession, because I was going through a bunch of emails trying to find some stuff to talk about in the weekly blog here, and I came across this email. I kind of read it quickly. I thought you were actually talking about something else. I thought you were asking a question of how things can be related for resolution, or what we may just want to call harmonic resolution or cadence points. I'm going to bring this up as kind of a comment section topic for the video here, and what I want to mention is the song Red Red Wine by UB40. Now, Red Red Wine is kind of an interesting tune. What happens is, I'm going to show you the guitar part for it. It's just basically a D, and then it goes up into a G, and then it goes up to A, and comes back to G again. And basically, in Red Red Wine, that's like really 1,000 songs, because that chord progression is just a 1, 4, 5. Now, what happens in the tune, though, that's kind of interesting, is the guitar's playing that, but the bass actually plays a 1 to a 4, and then it goes to a 2, and then it comes around to a 5. So the resolution on the bass is actually different than the resolution on the guitar harmony. So what's happening there, and I'm going to leave you with this as sort of homework, I guess you could say. You can write your concepts of what you hear and see going on in the comment box. But basically, we have something called a half cadence going on the bass, and we have something called a plagal cadence going on the guitar. So we have 2 different harmonic resolutions, and for homework, just go and Google those 2 terms and read about them a little bit. And if you have comments that you want to leave, just leave it in the comment box below the video. Okay, so that's your homework for the week. Until next time, take care, and I'll catch up with you on the next video. Keep jamming out, and I'll see you next week. Take care now. Bye-bye.